Good morning. I am so excited to present to you another one of our community conversations. So today, I am so excited to welcome Michael DiStefano, who is the Director of Faith and Justice Initiatives at Amirah. So he oversees all of their church and faith-based partnerships. And I will tell you, he served as a pastor for more than 5 years in both Houston, Texas, and Washington, D.C., and his involvement as a volunteer in the world of anti-trafficking spans more than a decade. Michael started off his time with Amirah as a volunteer and then joined the staff officially in 2019. So Michael, thank you so much for being here with us today. So my first question for you is, where does the name Amirah come from, and how long has the organization been around?
Yeah, great question. There's a lot of history behind the name Amirah, and for those of you who don't know, maybe this is your first exposure to Amirah. Amirah is a faith-based anti-trafficking organization focusing in aftercare and education of the community. And Amirah was formed. We've had different iterations over the years. So officially, we were incorporated as a nonprofit in 2011. Our current model of how we work with survivors and our current leadership, that was 2014. We're an organization that wants to continue to listen to the voices of survivors, continue to learn and adapt, continue to learn from our partners in law enforcement and adapt. And so we've sort of had different iterations over the years. But the seedling or the seed bed, the initial sort of birth of Amirah was 2009. And it was a small group of believers who were gathered, part of a small group. And you know, if you've been a part of a Sunday school class or a small group, there are times where you talk about the scriptures and open up the Word of God. There are other times where you just talk about what's going on in your life and in your marriages or with your family or at work. And for one of the members of that small group, one of the things that was going on at work for him was he was a member of federal law enforcement, knew where women were being trafficked against their will, and felt that there was nothing that he, as a member of even the FBI, could do. And so that small group said, well, what would it take for you to help these women? And he said, we would need an aftercare facility, a safe home. And that's where Amirah was born. It was sort of the church at our best. We were just like, what's the need of the world? And how can we be involved? And then the name Amirah was birthed out of that original movement. And it's a word that's found in the Arabic and Persian, and it means female royalty or female leader. It carries with it the idea of dignity and agency, and it also carries with it the idea of being dearly loved. And so that's the hope, that's the prayer for every woman that comes through Amirah, is that she would come in and leave with a sense of dignity, with a sense of agency over her life, and with a sense of feeling loved and valuable in this world.
Wonderful, thank you. So tell us a little bit about some of the different programs that Amirah offers for women.
Absolutely, yeah, so Amirah focuses on 3 things. So aftercare, which is mostly what we've talked about up to this point, and there's a couple of different ways in which we do that. One is a full-time residential facility, so women can come into the home and stay for up to 2 years. And throughout that process, we treat the 6 aspects of whole person care. We know that the woman that comes to us has got significant trauma, but that she's more than just her trauma. And so we focus on mental, physical, and emotional. We offer the highest level of clinical care, psychological care. We also work with her with social reform, her spiritual life, and then one of the most important things we do is offer vocational training. So offer the opportunity to go back to school or get an education so that she can leave ready to sort of take on the world in whatever she feels passionate about or God has called her to. And so that's the aftercare piece. That's the main thing that Amirah does. We also focus on education. So we'll educate community members, members of law enforcement, and healthcare and identification and aid. And then the last thing that we do is outreach. So we employ a few of our survivors, graduates from our program, to help reach out to women who are currently in need. And it's a way to continue to support them in their recovery well after they've officially left the Amirah house, graduated our program, and gone on to pursue pursue whatever career or life they're passionate about. And so those three things. So in 2020, I pulled up some statistics, if it's okay if I share, just sort of in light of the programs. In 2020, with our residential program, Amirah provided 1,600 nights of freedom for women, 4,542 hours of social, emotional, and spiritual recovery, 13,595 hours of vocational, mental, and physical recovery. And then through our outreach program, we reached 95 women in 2020 alone. And through our education efforts, we educated 17,380 community members in domestic sex trafficking. And we educated 249 health, social service, and law enforcement professionals in identification and aid. And so pretty remarkable, the things that Amirah was able to do in 2020 in the midst of a pandemic. And so we're just grateful to be a part of what's happening in this particular movement.
Wow, that's amazing. So Asylum Hill is now officially one of Amirah's church partners. So can you tell us a little bit about what that means as a church partner? What does that relationship mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it means something pretty historic, actually. It's kind of remarkable. Amirah was founded in Boston, Massachusetts, one of the first safe homes or aftercare providers in all of New England. At that time, we offered 6 beds. And at that point in history, there were 11 total in all of New England. And so Amirah has been sort of a pace setter in what's possible. Very conservative estimates would say that there are about 500,000 women in the U.S. being trafficked as we speak. And those are very conservative estimates through our friends at the Global Slavery Index and Homeland Security. We know the number is probably much higher than that. They also estimate that less than 1% of women will ever have the opportunity to escape that life. And one of the main reasons for that is the severe lack of exit ramps. Places like Amirah where a woman can go and recover. So Amirah stepped into that, being sort of a pace setter and what does it look like to provide more exit ramps for more women. But then we looked around and realized there's nothing like that in Connecticut. There were no safe homes, no aftercare providers for adult survivors of sex trafficking. And so Amirah endeavored to be the first safe home to open in this state. And then I got to have a conversation with Pastor Erica and Pastor Jordan and a few members of the Asylum Hill community. And we said we need the people of God, the community of faith, to look and see where's the fabric of society breaking down and how can we step into it. And this church just responded with so much grace, so much concern. And so what it means is you're a part of launching the first safe home in the state of Connecticut. So that's pretty exciting. And for Asylum Hill, that looks like being regularly involved with praying for the women. So we send out prayer updates that only go to our church partners. They don't go to donors. They don't go in our normal newsletter because it's a level of information that's really only available for people who have committed. We're going to be laboring with you in prayer. And that goes to Asylum Hill. It also means that Asylum Hill is supporting us financially. And that's a pretty remarkable thing, that when you give to Asylum Hill as a member of this congregation, you are supporting efforts to heal and restore women who have been exploited. And that's pretty remarkable. And then the last thing that it means is that there are people from this congregation who are volunteering. I don't have statistics to back this up, but my general impression, as I've kept up with this, is that Asylum Hill makes up the majority of our volunteers. And not only is it people from the congregation like Brent and others, but it's Pastor Jordan, Pastor Erica, and Pastor Erica's mother. And so it's like the whole family is involved, and that's pretty amazing. So if you want to get to know your senior pastor and Pastor Jordan a little bit more, just volunteer with us at Amirah. And so those are the 3 ways that Asylum Hill, as a church partner, is involved with the work that Amirah is doing to help restore women who have been caught up in this horrible thing.
Thank you so much. So I first want to thank you so much for being here and sharing all of this with us, and also thank you for everything you do. We are praying for you and with you as you do this important work of God in the community. And I want to remind everyone, as Erica already mentioned in the announcements this morning, today at 10:30, right after worship, we are going to have a Zoom forum where Michael is going to give us some more information about how we can become more involved with what Amirah is doing, ask some questions maybe, and find out what else we can do to support you all. As well as I want to let you all know that we will be sending out some more information to you all this week. We will send out a recording of this conversation, as well as the website and other key information so you can find out more about Amirah. So Michael, thank you so much for being here, and I'm looking forward to 10:30.
Absolutely.
Thank you.